Okay, part 3. Okay, so my guides for the last few months, really, okay, maybe longer than a few months, have been urging me. Let me hit play. Hold on, you guys. 1 second. Okay, so they've been urging me to connect with the community in different ways, okay? And I know this is not just me. This is going to be a message for many people who are feeling called to share their abilities, their light language, their messages, their channeling, their dreams, their visions, but also on the healing side of things, the modalities that we use to heal, right? Like I do group hypnosis, private hypnosis, I do archangel sessions, sound tuning, body coding, helping people understand their body, lymphatic drainage, fascia work, all kinds of stuff. Okay, so one of the things that my guides really wanted me to focus on this year was developing the teaching, and I have. Okay, so this is why I now have a full curriculum for hypnosis, lymphatic drainage, and sound tuning. Okay, so but the reason why this is so important is because we are being used by the higher self to channel this wisdom into the collective. Okay. And what my guides told me was find ways to connect with the community. Well, I want to tell you guys what happened, okay? So I felt called to participate in a local market where we live here, right outside New Orleans. And I've been feeling it for months, okay? But like every time I would try to do it, there would be some kind of reason we either couldn't connect with the coordinator, or we couldn't find the right email address, or there was just something every time, okay? And it was becoming very, very clear that this was spiritual, okay? And long story short, I just knew there was some reason, and it wasn't about the money, you guys, because honestly, it's easier for me to just work from my business. Everything's already here. Everything's already set up. The art's already on the walls. The skincare is here. All my retail is here. Like, it doesn't make any business sense to go to the community as far as like what would be easier. Okay. So this was just purely an act of love because my guides said the community needs to interact with you, Miranda. They need the angelic frequencies. They need to connect with the angelics. They need to see the paintings of the angels. They need to talk to you. They need to hear the bulls. They needed this, okay? I was like, okay, well, let's do it. Let's work on it. Well, every time we tried to do it, something kept happening, including a month ago when we finally got in touch with the coordinator, finally got the details and the application submitted. That's when my husband had a medical issue and we had to put it on pause for another month, okay, just to help him, which was fine. But again, resistance, right, the whole way. Well, we finally made it to the market yesterday, you guys, and I want to tell you some things that were amazing and why it was so important to get there. But then the icing on the cake will be the last thing I'm going to tell you, okay? So there were, I would say, at least 7 or 8 very important encounters yesterday at the market. And what we did was we just set up all of my angelic art. My boys brought some of their art that they paint because they wanted to try to sell some of their little paintings because that's what they like to do. And then I brought my skincare, which is organic and good for the lymphatic system and the whole body and for the cosmetic side of things. So it can be used a lot of different ways. And we also brought my bowls, and I just brought the bowls just to kind of show people the sounds, okay? Like, so we set all that up, and I'm sitting there, and I thought, you know what? I'm just gonna like massage people's hands. You know, I'm a licensed esthetician, so I'm trained in all of those different type of massage techniques. And so I got my little, divine timing balm out that I make, and I was just doing little hand massages on people, just loving on them, talking to them. When there wasn't a client getting a hand massage, I was just tuning as people walked by. Tons of kids, you guys, because it's right next to a school. All these little kids walking by, hearing those beautiful frequencies of the sound bowls, okay? And as I was sitting there tuning and just looking at all the trees in the park and and teenagers, there was a lot of teenagers because it's a high school. So, teenagers walking around everywhere, plus all the adults that were there, I was thinking, wow, you can really see how wisdom put this together, because essentially it was an activation for the whole park. Okay, all the trees, all the land, all the kids, the school next door, all the adults, everyone there got a light activation. Can you see why this was so important, you guys? And why there was so much resistance to us getting there? I mean, it was freaking so hard to get there, you guys. I'm not kidding. If you've ever had to do like something that God like told you to do, you know what I'm talking about then. You had to cut through all the cords that were standing in the way of you getting there. Okay? And that's what we had to do to get to this market. Interestingly, one of my very dear friends came by the market to pick up her cleanser and some things that she needed from me. So she technically was our first customer, but I knew it was on purpose because she's so special and I love her so much, and she's very powerful, and she is connected to the Maya in this life and other lifetimes. So she brought that like powerful, I call it like volcano energy. And I know we broke some spiritual energetic cord yesterday. Okay. And I'm going to tell you about a few of the interactions we had that were incredible. And then I want to tell you what the director said. Okay. So my boys, you guys, I'm so proud of them, and my husband, they worked so hard to help me. This was really not an easy project to do, but they helped. They worked so hard. I call them my three kings for a reason. I'm telling you, they helped me carry paintings. They helped me carry buckets, sandbags, the tent, all the stuff, right? And they helped people and talked to people about what we do, okay? So I'm very proud of them for being able to do that and articulate, you know, all of these different concepts. And we supported the other booths. So like we bought lemonade and we bought food, and it helps the community, okay? But what I noticed sitting there was that everyone there and everyone that came to the market was an example of people who love the community and who want to interact with the community, right? They could go to a restaurant and that'd be fine. There's nothing wrong with that, but they wanted something more personal, so they came to the market. And it was just beautiful to watch it, first of all. And then to witness all of nature and the trees and the animals and the people responding to the music. 722, as I said that, Mary Magdalene. And then the people that came to the booth, you guys. So the people that came, it wasn't a lot of people. It's not a huge market. I would say we had about, we had several hundred people that came to the market. But as far as what I would consider very important interactions that needed to happen individually, about 8 or 9 interactions that were like, whoa, why did that just happen? That's amazing, or whatever. The very first one that like literally stood out to me so much was this young mother that came by with her 2 children, and I was doing the bowls. And it's funny because my older son told me, stop doing the bowls, Mom. You're weirding people out. They're not going to want to hear this. It's too strange for people. And I was like, no, baby, they need to hear the frequencies. Just trust Mommy, okay? They need it. Well, anyway, I kept going anyway. So the universe was testing me, right? I just kept tuning. I didn't care who stopped or whatever. And here comes this little mama with her 2 babies, and her little daughter was hiding behind her. And she's autistic, you guys. And she comes up to me just to see what I was doing with the bowls, the mom, and the daughter's like hiding behind her. And out of nowhere, her daughter comes from around the mom, opens her eyes, comes and touches my arm, you guys, and grabs the wand out of my hand and starts playing the bowl. And her mom was like, oh my God, she never opens her eyes. She never opens her eyes. I've never seen her do this. And she sat next to me in this little chair that I had next to me, this little girl, you guys. And she had her little hand on my arm and the other hand just banging the bowls. And I was praying to God because I was like, you're not really supposed to hit them hard, but I swear, you guys, it was such a divine moment that the angels were like, it's fine, just let her do it. And I did, and they were fine. My bowls were like, we're good, we're good. She got up and played those bowls like an expert. Do you hear me? She remembered the other lifetimes, and she literally starts playing all of them together. And I was like, and she starts tuning them and like playing them like an expert, okay? And I was just like, I mean, we were all just like in awe of this moment. And I was like, oh my God, like what just happened, right? Now, I've forever seen that children are drawn to me, and that's the great mother within me. I am that motherly spirit. very connected to divine mothers. And so children do gravitate to me, but it really touched me to have her come and touch my arm and play with me, because just knowing that that is normally very uncomfortable for her, that she would not normally do that. So it was such a confirmation from Spirit that we were doing the right thing, even though my sons were scared that maybe the other people in the community wouldn't understand what meditation is or why these frequencies are so important, because they don't yet know. Humans don't yet know as a collective that everything is frequency. Everything, okay, is about the energy. But this little one did know. And I'm reminded of that video I made about all these gifted telepathic children who are autistic, okay? And they're so emotionally sensitive, but this is what's making them a telepath, okay? The empath leading to the telepath. And so she was confirmation, you guys. Her name, by the way, I don't want to say her name because I want to protect her identity, but I want to tell you what the name means. And there are many names that can mean this, so I think that'll still keep it vague. Her actual name meant weaver, okay? And I was just like, oh my God. You guys, first of all, this child herself is very powerful. But second of all, what did we weave yesterday in the community? Exactly. And by coming, and really it was a labor of love, putting all that work into bringing the angelic frequency here that it needed, okay? And we wove something beautiful yesterday, you guys, somehow, okay? And various people stopped, okay? We had the little girl that I just told you about. She just made me want to cry, like happy tears. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. But like we had a young man stop in his mid-20s, really on the cusp of choosing what he wants to do with his life. He talked to us for so long. My husband talked to him. It felt so important, even for my husband to talk to him, for him to talk to a mature man who was in his shoes before. And to get that guidance and that love. He bought some tea, some anti-inflammatory tea that I sell for his body. We talked about sound tuning. I tuned him a little bit. You know, just loved on all these people in the community, guys. There was another woman that stopped by from Pakistan, and she was amazing. And it was just such a special moment because you can just tell when people feel that you love them, they will open up and talk to you. And they did. So many people did, you guys. And she opened up and asked me if I thought she should have her own booth to make food for the people from Pakistan. And I was like, yes, of course I do. And I was like, please do it, please. And we started talking about all the things, you guys. I was like, if you do this, I said, don't you realize how important it is for you to share your culture and your food and your language with others? I said, it opens their eyes. They need you to do this. And it was just this beautiful moment of confirmation where the universe gave her the confidence she needed to move forward in her vision, okay? And we just talked about how important it is for the community to see strong women, independent women, women in business, like how important it is for the community to begin to see the feminine rise into her power, okay? And the feminine rises into power by creating what she wants. So we don't typically rise into power by doing somebody else's job. We rise into power by creating what we want to do, okay? And that's what the conversation with this woman was all about. It was a beautiful conversation. And I ended up telling her about a very dear friend of mine who was, she has passed away since then, but she was from Iran, and I'm friends with her entire family. And she was just one of the most amazing people I've ever known in my life. And even without language, we understood each other on a soul level. And we would just sit and have tea together. And she was in her 70s when I met her, and I was in my 20s. So there was a 50-year age difference, but it didn't matter because we loved each other like sisters. And she would say, Miranda, Miranda. That's how she would say my name. Let's pray. Let's pray. That's all she could say in English. And we would just pray, and we would be together, and we would have our tea, and we would just love each other. And I was talking to this woman about that, and I said, listen, love is the universal language. Show people who you are. Let them see you. Let them see your humanity. And let love do the rest, And it was just such a beautiful conversation. So the little girl whose name means weaver, and who played the bowls and had never opened her eyes like this in public, you guys. And she just came right up and was like holding my arm and playing the bowls. I couldn't believe it. This older man, you guys, he was at a booth across from us. Maybe in his 70s. He appeared to be like in his 70s, maybe older than that, maybe almost 80. He walks over to me and he's like, I just want to see what this is. What is this thing that you're playing? And he held the bowls, and I played the bowls while he held them. And he said, this is incredible. And it always humbles me when I see an older person just be open-minded and open-hearted, and he was. And their little stand was so adorable, and they made the best fresh, like, homemade lemonade. So good for your energy. Made with love, and it's supporting this couple, So just the interaction with him, the woman who wants to open her own booth with the food from Pakistan, and the little girl with autism, all the little kids that stopped. I had these young women that stopped. They were incredible women, like young 20s, I would say young 20s. We talked a lot about the myrrh and the fae and the interdimensionals, and there was a lot of readings that happened yesterday, very spontaneously, but a lot of spirit messages, a lot of readings with just random people walking up, and everything was spot on for everybody, which was beautiful. Yeah. So all these things happened, okay? Then at the end of the day, the director came up to me and she said, I want to tell you that, she said, there was a peace here today that I haven't felt ever. And she said, I haven't felt this much peace since I was 18 years old. She said, something happened today. She said she felt like there was something that needed to be cleared from the area. And she knew that it needed to be cleared, but didn't know what to do. And she said, I feel like it got cleared today. And she said, I'm just so thankful. We had the best visit, she and I. I'm not saying too much about the conversation because I want to protect her identity and her story. But it was amazing to hear her story. Very much a Mary Magdalene story, okay? Very much a bridge, okay? And I told her, I said, listen, your work at managing these community events is super important. Very sacred work. God has you here for a reason. And God called us here for a reason. And we cleared whatever it was. And let me tell you, I told you guys and I told her it was not easy for us to get here. But we did it. We broke whatever it was, okay? We cut those cords. We cleared the path. It's cleared. And people could feel it. So that, I see more and more of that's coming, okay? From many of you all who are watching this, you're going to know who you are. We are the ones that pierce the veil, okay? And we clear the path for more love to come through. And I very much felt like my husband, my children, this woman who's the director, and my friend that came that day, and myself together needed to be there to do what had to happen yesterday. And the universe does work this way, you guys, where this goes back to the first part 1 that I did today about 3 Atlas and the sun. And when I meditate with the sun and the light language comes through, it's shown to me as a constellation of stars that all represent a certain type of portal, okay? And you see they're swinging in on this side. So now I'm feeling very much the masculine energy. So they're saying, yeah, when they bring certain people together, it's like bringing a constellation together. And when those people come in to each other's space, it portals that energy into the space where they are. Community gatherings are so important. They're saying, who is speaking? Mother Mary. She says, the community needs your love, Miranda, and the love of others. They need to remember what it's like to be together and rejoice, have fun, celebrate. she says they need to be parented by love. So she means both parents, mother, father, God, mother, father, sky, father, mother, earth, but also in the human sense, they need calibration in their energy, okay, of the masculine and feminine, okay, the light and the dark, the yin and the yang. But coming together as a community helps them to do that. It gives them a voice for expression. It gives them a channel to share. It's also teaching the children, she says, other ways to create abundance. And it's collectively going to change the perspective of humanity. What is the normal way to barter and trade versus what they've been shown in corporate, okay? What else do you want to say, Mother Mary? That's it, okay. Do you want me to say anything else? Oh. Okay. So one more thing about the little girl. So the other meaning of her name, it said, was connected to a duck. A duck. Well, the duck for me has a very special meaning, and I've actually gotten quite a few messages from ducks over the years. It's so crazy. I've actually had visitations in my dreams with ducks, and they always give me messages. But I found out through my brother that the duck symbolism is really connected to the dragons. Okay, and this was a many years process of me getting these messages, and they would appear to me different ways and with different little coded messages. So for me, for her name to mean weaver duck, she's a dragon, and the dragons are weaving this. And the dragons, as I've said in many videos, are sacred wisdom keepers. They are pillars of reality. They are the ancient reality wisdom keepers, and they have a very, very strong connection with Mary Magdalene and the water beings, okay? And I have experienced a life as a water dragon, and I have a lot of memories of it actually, but I also have good and bad memories of it because our world was a world of water, and we were invaded by another planetary system. This was like a galactic memory, you guys. And the water beings were just so gentle and loving, okay? So it was just so, we couldn't imagine that anyone would ever be so harsh or selfish. It was just such an eye-opener for us, that life, So what's interesting about the wisdom keepers, though, and as they bring in this information, yeah, we were surrounded by ducks yesterday, of course, because we're at the park and they have like a little pond there, But every element of what happened yesterday came together cohesively for the good. And they said gentleness wins in the end. And what they mean by that is it is time for us to learn the ways of the water. That the cohesiveness of it, the togetherness of it, is what makes it an unstoppable force. Divided we fall, together we rise, is what they're saying. So they really want the community experience to come back to the norm, okay? Where we spend time together as a community and we allow space for each other. We treat each other with kindness. And all those young ones especially that came up to us yesterday, where my husband and I both together mother and fathered them with little nuggets of wisdom and love, okay? This is how you pour back into the community. This is how you water the garden. And I was just humbled and amazed at, what do you guys want to call it? They're calling it the ascension process, but essentially what happens when we bring it all together, okay? And I urge each of you who is willing and able to begin to do something with your community, okay? Share your knowledge. And just like I did, I played those bowls no matter what anybody said or did. And in came the divine confirmation that they needed to hear it, okay? So one thing I've learned in this journey is do what I feel what my intuition is telling me, no matter what anybody's reaction is, I'm not worried about their reaction. I'm here for love. I'm here as a child of the divine. And I'm here to remind everyone what God love means and where we can go if we just flow. Okay? So, do you want to say anything else, Mother Mary? That's it. Okay. She says, get with the community. Make a difference with your love. Okay? There's a woman, and she's reminding me of this woman from Baton Rouge that I know. You guys, this woman's incredible. We met her at dinner one time. I mean, she's just like a regular lady, okay? Like working in a restaurant, but she's not a regular lady working in a restaurant. She is a divine being, and I know it. And she started her own nonprofit. Every year, I think she raises like $15,000 to $20,000 every year and buys a whole set of laptops or tablets for the local school where the kids go to school at in her city that they don't have the money to buy their own devices. She does it. Every year, this woman raises $15,000 to $20,000 to get tablets for these kids, okay? The other thing she does is every year she cooks Thanksgiving dinner for 3 blocks of her neighborhood. This one little woman, and this woman lost her son, and yet she still smiles. You guys, she went through the tragic loss of a child. And she has one son remaining who she loves very much, but just her whole story of being a difference maker, okay? Like someone who way makes in the community, cooking food for people, raising the money to get them the tablets. She's on a regular salary, living in a regular house with no other income, just herself. Still, she's making miracles happen. Anything is possible, you guys. You have no limits. You have no limits. Okay? What is it? Love knows no boundaries. You are not limited, and neither is God. So let's make some magic. That's what I'm hearing. And defer to these examples of people who you know who are making a difference, even with what we would consider limited human resources. Well, God doesn't have limited resources. So just put it out there, okay? All right. Is there anything else, Mother? That's it. I love you guys. I hope this helps. Bye.